Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. Are you an author, speaker, coach, or entrepreneur building a brand in today's very crowded marketplace? How do you stand out? Join me on September 27th and share 97 minutes of your time for just $97 and learn how to empower your brand message and shine as a guest on podcasts. iHeart's doing it. Spotify's doing it. You should do it too. Join me and spend 97 minutes of your time for just $97. You can find the registry link in the show notes. Hope to see you there. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Karen Whelan. She is the founder and owner of Solution Therapy, a spiritual advisor, a psychotherapist, and a 3-time international best-selling author. Welcome, Karen. I am so happy to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm so excited to sit in this space with you. Something in me feels we'll be a little bit giddy with each other's energy.
Yes.
But that's great. I'm ready to play a little.
Yes, exactly. We've been trying to get this done for a while, so it's nice to finally, I think we figured it almost a year. We've been trying to get this done, right? It's been a while. Schedules misaligning and whatnot, but here we are. So
I'm more grown up as well.
Yes. So let's jump in and have some fun and share a little bit about your journey, your story, and the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do. So how long have you been a psychotherapist, and what motivated or inspired you to get into therapy and pursue a career in this field?
Yeah. So I am now 18 years sitting in front of people. And as you can imagine, 18 years of hearing stories in the room is a long time. And that is an awful amount of data and wonderment as well. And incredible invitations to be always taken into the soul landscape of another person and to be shown around in there. So I love that. What prompted me to do it professionally, I had finished a degree in social care. And I was working in residential care with kids taken out of their home who had experienced severe trauma and the home could not contain them or the home was too dangerous for them. And when they came into residential straight away, there was this incredible attunement between me and their need for safety. And I recognized in them that their behavior that would trigger other workers into like retaliation. I knew that really what was going on for these beautiful teenagers was they did not know how to drop into their emotional self and show you their upset. So anger was their shield for their upset. Right. So when they got angry, I knew what they needed in that moment was more unconditional love. That also is tied into the personal reason for being a psychotherapist. So when I worked as a professional residential worker, I wasn't allowed to read their psychology profile. It was a part of the file that I didn't have permission. So I became very interested in it and I realized I had something to offer here in my attunement and I wanted to go off and train further in that. So professionally, that's why I jumped in it. Personally, I was a child who was born into severe trauma. From the day I showed up here on earth, I was sexually abused and I was physically abused by my own dad. And I spoke out at 14. And the adults in my world could not work with that. Nobody knew how to handle that. The social worker was good. The guards, the police, we call them guards here in Ireland. The police wanted me to incarcerate him. Everybody was controlling the story, my emotion in the story. So what happened for me was Karen's anger became so toxic that I began to self-hate. So I was a master at self-hating and I attempted suicide when I was 15 and I ended up being homeless on the streets at the age 15.
Wow.
And I ran away at 17 to France. No French. To be an au pair. So if I quickly grab the spiritual language, my soul knew to always go beyond the edge of myself, to not be afraid, because I have met the edge of myself so many times. And being in France uplifted that story off of me, and I got to experience the person beyond the trauma story. And I started to feel liberated and alive for the first time in what felt like forever at 17. And I came home pregnant when I was 19. And 3 weeks before I gave birth to my beautiful son, his dad ended the relationship with me. He wrote me a letter to say, I'm sorry. I hope your family will take care of you. And fast forward to when my son was about 1, my dad called to the house with some food from my mother for my son and me. And you know what I had held on to, Brad, was the story, the question of why me? Like, why me? And I named it. I dropped it into the space. I made him accountable in that moment. I said, why would you do what you did to me? Like, why did you do it? And there was this unbelievable dialogue that began to happen. And in that dialogue, even asking that question to someone like, why? Pulling them into that place of responsibility and accountability. It is a catalyst for healing for both parties. This is not rescuing my dad in any way. I was fortunate that he was willing to go into that conversation with me. But when he did, I was totally touched and moved by, this is not a man anymore in front of me. I was moved by the story of his childhood trauma. I was moved by really understanding that he had been so hurt as a child. He pitched, as a result of his hurt people. Yeah. Put that trauma onto me. And I realized in this moment a powerful, we'll say, insight or foresight. It was like the veil between us lifted, and it was a real seeing of one soul into the soul of the other. And I knew, me and him really only ever knew one thing, which was pain, and to feel hated and not belonged. I really recognized that the two of us didn't know any other way of being in life, only abandonment. And I recognized in that moment, in order to heal both him and me, mostly me, the way to do this would be to give the unlovable love. And in that moment, I truly took both of us into the power of wholeness, true forgiveness and redemption. And I call that in that moment, it felt like it was the hand of God in action, because something in me beyond my physical heart, like it was like the sacred heart portal, which I researched into now as my master's. I now know that the divine, because they say that the sacred heart is the place from which the divine can enter and see into the world. And I truly now can honestly articulate that in that moment. That was a sacred moment of a soul contract, if we want to go higher. Yeah. Two souls coming in to have a soul karmic contract. I'm not saying I wanted this to happen to me, but I'm saying I had choice and I had power in how I wanted to heal it for both myself, which in turn allowed healing to come into my dad's life. So because I've been brought to the depths of pain where I wanted out, I hated me, I was badly abused, I went to the most ugliest parts within ourselves that you can call the shadow side of our humanity. And I went in there and I had to work on healing all of that. So personally, I always see the pain of a person. When you sit in front of me, I will see the true soul in the room. I see all of the woundedness and the block and the program and the defaults that are in your way from you being able to see you as God intended you, or as the sacred intended you. So the working with the children really showed me that. I had this genuine, natural, unconditional love of their traumas, of their tantrums, of their need to be violent. It just did not enter my being. It wasn't personal. It was never even about me. I knew that I was a container to make them feel the opposite to what they know. It was an opportunity to show them there's more to what you know, and I want to mirror that to you.
Yeah. That's fucking heavy at 20 years old to go through and deal with all of that and come to the realization of what's been gone on, and then to have the self-awareness and the ability to forgive your father.
Yeah.
Like, that is fucking huge.
It's so huge that when I did it, the way you responded to it was not the way society responded to it, because society, which is okay, my community, were saturated in the fear consciousness, which is, why would you forgive him? This man needs to be incarcerated. He needs to be punished. Now, I could have incarcerated him. The police knew about it. Social workers knew about it. But I knew incarceration would just contribute to that old intergenerational trauma feeding itself within this man. So for me, it was like, incarceration is not going to do anything for me or him. So it did not fit in me. But I didn't have the wisdom. Of course I didn't at 19. I didn't have these wording, this linguistic energy of being able to really formulate what me and you were talking about.
Yeah.
So what happened to me then is I became the woman, the girl, who was chastised for having such a great, beautiful heart. I was shamed in my heart. I was shamed. How could you do this? You should be angry with him. I had therapists, even though I am one, say to me, where's your anger? And I'm like, where's my anger? Excuse my Irish. Are you fucking kidding me? I attempted my life at 15. That was my anger.
Angry.
I don't need it. And what was interesting, Brad, which is really interesting, if I jump on it as if I'm an epigenetic expert in the room, but epigenetically, I absolutely changed the frequency of my cells in that moment, because the minute I offered the trueness of forgiveness, because it's not just pretend forgiveness, it was actually a bloody act of forgiveness. My story did not live in my body after that. As a psychotherapist, I know we hold the emotions in our body. I know our body holds it. Our body is so sacred. It'll store it. If we don't transmute it, transcend it, it becomes part of our unconscious. It lives through us. My story about my dad did not follow me around after that. I didn't feel like I was a survivor of abuse. I felt very whole. I felt that was a contract of my work here was completely fulfilled. It just didn't stay with me after that. What stayed with me was my self-worth. My lack of it stayed with me. That's what the trauma had done to me, was the story I had told myself inside about Karen. That's what stayed with me, but not the sexual abuse.
I can understand where the people were coming from in a way.
Yeah.
I see their side of it, but I see your side of it too. Is like, why do I want to continue to carry this around with me? Forgiveness isn't even really, when you think about it, forgiveness is for us. It's really not for the person that we are forgiving. Is to free ourselves, is to lift that weight off of our shoulders so that we can carry on and do better in the world. It's, I don't know, that's fucking heavy. That's a lot. That is a hell of a lot.
And if I expand that out more a little bit from a spiritual perspective, I'm here. There is a nature to my spirit like there is to yours. How you walk, how you talk, your movement, your expression of yourself, that is all a capturing of the nature of your spirit. The nature of my spirit is to forgive, is to hold a space of profound, I don't know, it's almost like this really, I think through the pain I went through and the feeling of being so on, I almost could see the same feelings in that person. So I didn't want to add into
compound that,
you know, because I knew it in me, so I knew what it felt like for them. So the nature of my spirit is I'm a space holder. I hold space. I have a beautiful heart that's very wide open, that's very loving and very healing as a result of being very loving. So that is the nature of my spirit. So I'm able to add that lens into it now and go, you know what? This is your spirit. This is the spiritual side of who you are. This is how your spirit moves on this planet.
Yeah.
You know, you're a
So
kid.
how is your relationship with your father after that?
My relationship with my dad is so good. All of my siblings obviously knew about it, but all of our life partners know about it. My children know about it. So the rule in the home was, this was the conversation when my son was born. Dad, I will never trust you. I can't ever trust you.
Yeah.
I will never leave you. You'll never be allowed to be alone. with my kids, but you will be granddad and you'll be able to be in their lives. And we all have that in our family. That became part of how we worked with it in the family. All of us, we'd always call there with the kids, but he just was never allowed babysit or be around the kids by himself. That became a very natural boundary between all of us. And my relatives knew, my cousins knew, the extended family, the community knew. So he was very much outed, especially in Ireland, in our culture. That too was something very rare because everything was always shh.
Yep,
it's our
sweep
secret.
it under the rug, keep it inside the house.
Keep it in. Allow it to eat you up from the inside, and then just go and, God forgive me, just go and pour it and fuck your own children down the road.
Yeah.
But I was not going to do that. When I had Aaron at 19, this awareness came over me where I realized he's too precious. He's never going to experience what I encountered. And my job is to make sure of that.
The self-awareness, though, is fucking incredible.
I know.
Wow.
Bloody so young.
An old soul for such a young person. Yeah,
No,
I love it.
It's a hindrance and a blessing. It's a hindrance when it
sure.
doesn't fit into the consciousness around you because the consciousness is still asleep, evolving. And then it's a blessing when you meet other tribes like you, soul tribes like you, and they fucking get it. And the conversation is so deep and rich. And it can bring in a lot for humanity. This kind of conversation can really be
absolutely
wonderful.
And conversation is the catalyst for change. If we don't talk about it, nothing changes. We have to have those difficult conversations for sure.
Absolutely.
That's how we're going to start to move forward and change things, is by talking about them.
Yeah.
And we also have to keep in mind in those conversations, you have to be open-minded. You have to go in with an open mind, an open heart, and these things open. The ears, you have to
listen with curiosity, not listening with the need to be right.
Yes. Yeah. Now, I've heard people say that work in therapy, that work chose them as opposed to them choosing that field of work. Do you feel the same way? And if so, why?
In truth, I would say no. And maybe upside down. So because I've been seeking to know myself very deeply, I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. Okay. So my idea of what I would do when I started to do social care, I was like, okay, this is a good profession. I returned back to college. So I dropped out of school at 14. And then at 22, I went back as a mature student. So I was like, okay, I was thinking about it from a practical sense. I was a single mom with no income. So I was like, okay, what job would serve me well? So I looked at it like that, and then it began to happen. And when I became a qualified psychotherapist, I actually stopped for a year because I became overwhelmed in the realization that I'm in a position that is too powerful. In other words, that I could go in there and absolutely play around with the mind of another person, that I could leave an impression. And to me, that is a genuine, massive responsibility when people are coming to you, seeking through the work with you, the support. And I just didn't know, was I the right frequency for that? Was I right to do that? And I got a little bit scared about that responsibility. I was afraid of, what if I hurt their psyche? What if I hurt them in the work? So I took a year out and I went into my creative self because I never had done that. And then it pulled me, or the divine, the mystery, pulled me back to psychotherapy. So I would say that, yes, it was designed for me, and God, the divine mystery, whatever word you like. So instead of jumping all over the words, I'm just going to stick with the word God because I like the sound of it. And look, all these words for me is AC/DC, the manager of AC/DC, named it beautifully. He said, God is the blanket we throw over the mystery to give it a shape. So when I'm using the word, I am trying to give the mystery a beautiful shape. So I believe the mystery was constantly moving me on the board, but I was stuck in a genuine place of really trying to figure out, why am I here? What does God want from me? Unaware that God was constantly communicating what it needed out of me. I was needing for it to show up in a very particular way. but that was just ego work. If I really look at it now, there was parts in my woundedness that wanted to be seen because I felt so unseen. So my seeking was not in alignment with the pure self, but the divine was always trying to get me into that unity with my divine self. So you're probably correct. I would be very jealous of those who know that this work is for them and feel that it is a vocation and a calling. Mm-hmm. I tried to run from it. I got pulled back to it. But today, I know that I am here to be in service to humanity through the work that I do, and that I was gifted the early experience of life as the uncommon wisdom that you can't read out of a book, but you can use it in the room to show the other in the room that you fully get the place they're coming from. So the presence of my presence with their presence is that sacred union that happens in the room as a result. So today I fucking love the work that I do.
That's a beautiful gift. Yeah. What, in your opinion, is one of the most important qualities or skill sets of a therapist?
Realness, to be fully real, to really be real. I have met as a client, because I went into therapy as a client at the age of 22. And I have met many clients where there's an agenda. It's almost like they're trying to steer the therapy in a particular direction. They have an agenda, or they're not fully open because they're trying to keep this professional sense of self in the room. And clients are awesome. We have to be. We have an antenna. We're reading everything. And if you're a trauma child like I was, then you're an expert at reading the room because you're hyper vigilant. You had to be to survive. You needed, your little feelers had to be everywhere like an octopus, reading the room and feeding back to yourself. So to be fully you, to really be you. And that is not easy, because what am I saying? I am saying your only job here for everyone, regardless of your profession, but your real job on this planet is to self-permit. Truly, to self-permit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What would you say is your greatest strength as a therapist?
Yeah, my ability to be caring. I've had so many clients say to me, "You're so not what I thought you would be. You're just different." I hear them say, "This is not what I expected in psychotherapy." And that's only because so much gets weaved into my work. So there's the shamanic part of who I am. There's the spirituality part of who I am. There's the tantra teacher in the room. I train directly under the beautiful Gabor Mate. So there's that body expert in the room. And then there's the healer. And I read the room in my shamanic energy. If you come into the room, I've had it sometimes where there's a visitor in the room where I can feel the energy, and I know there's another presence in the room, and I work with that because I can feel it in my body. And I'm able to say to the client, "Can we just for a moment pause, notice your right shoulder?" And they're like, "Yeah, I have something here. It's hurting me." And then we do body work. We listen and the body tells us. So for me, it's an invitation to drop into the wonderment energy of, I'm not here to figure you out. That's not my job. My job is to go into the wonderment of what you are and love the mystery of who you are as you uncover who you are in there. That's my only role. Yeah.
What lights you up the most about the work that you do?
Oh God, I'll share it. It's when people begin to see themselves. And an example of that, one of my youngest that I work with, she's 10. Oh, so precious. And I love everyone, but this little 10-year-old, her story in the room was she didn't really like who she was. She told herself she was fat. And in her story of saying I'm fat, she felt very awkward around her friends. So her need to self-protect would be to withdraw. But in the withdrawal, she felt nobody cared about her, nobody wanted her. So it was now feeding a new wound, bringing up more. So we worked with the whole story of I'm fat and how it made her feel. And we really went deep into that beautiful story of it. And then I got her to take her focus off of her when she's around her friends and notice what they're doing around her. And she was like, yeah, they smile at me and they hug me. And I'm like, and do they call for you? And she was like, yeah. So fast forward a month later and she's in here and I have a beautiful little weighted teddy that I give them to feel held. she was saying to me, Karen, I really who I am now. I see how much they smile. I see how much they want to play with me. And for me, that's it. I don't care what age you are. When I see that you are starting to really like who you are and you're starting to disarmor and take off of you that armoring of perfectionism, of trying to achieve, trying to be a version that's not even you. And then all of a sudden you start to go, I want to be my own soulmate. I want this for me. That's what lights me up. I love when people fall in love with the truth of who they are. I love that. I love that.
That's beautiful.
I love
because
love.
Everything starts here. Everything starts with us. We are the foundation for all of it.
We are.
We have to love ourselves.
We came in forgetting the wonderment of what we are. And I truly believe, if I really go to all of my genuine wisdom of what I believe in, I truly believe that we've come in to rediscover and fall back in love with the truth of what we are. And in that discovery, it's don't take yourself so fucking seriously. Oh
yes, absolutely. Life is short. Let's fucking have fun.
Yeah.
Stop. It's really not that serious.
And again, like the self-permission, it's you're not called in to be a tree or a dog or a bird. You were called in to be you. So your only job is to self-permit. So my mantra in life, I don't know if your audience, if this is video or audible, but that's my mudra, it's the two middle fingers. And my mantra is, I don't care what I think you think of me. I just don't go there. I was riddled with that for years, and I became very paranoid in my mindset, and I became filled with anxiety, couldn't cope being around people, needed to withdraw when I was a hostage to my mind.
Yeah. How do you manage your own mental health and prevent burnout given the emotionally demanding nature of your work?
Beautiful. However, for me, I don't know what it is. I don't find my work demanding. I think there's the two parts to that. I see it as a sacred exchange of me opening the door into your world, and I'm being brought in there. So I know how to leave there and leave that literally there. Your story is not my story. My job is to not fix or control it, or my job is just to sit there and be curious with you and deeply look for more. And then the other side of it, the personal side of it, is there's nothing I have not met. Like between the sexual abuse, the suicide, the homelessness, the drug misuse, times of being beaten, times of being raped, the pain of being abandoned 3 weeks before I gave birth, being a single mother, giving birth, being living on destitute with a baby and rearing a baby for 8 years on my own. There's nothing I have not met in life. Now I'm in a place where I know, and I bring it into the work, I know life isn't here to hurt me. I know life is here to truly wake me up to the truth of who I am. So I'm unafraid of life. I'm unafraid of people's life stories. So I never take it on. I just genuinely, and I have a wonderful husband who I think he swallows like optimism pills. He is just the epiphany of being a happy person. So I have somebody in my life who's so solid and is so loving and so giving of me too. So I have that beautiful, when I leave we're in my office right now. When I leave my office, I go home to this beautiful energy. I go swimming in the ocean. I might go to the pub here and have a little drink with the locals and a chat. So I just leave it all behind. It doesn't follow me energetically, because in here is a vortex. When you leave, I will do my chanting, my japas. I will close the energetic vortex space myself. So it doesn't follow my clients home and disrupt them either. And it doesn't come into my conscious field and disrupt me. It used to follow me home, people's energies, and it would wake me up at night. And then I learned to go
clear it. Yeah.
Clear it, close the vortex, do not bring it home. Yeah.
How has being a psychotherapist influenced your own personal growth and self-awareness? You had self-awareness from a very young age, but how has it also influenced?
Oh, sure. Look, it gave me the language. When I began training as a psychotherapist, you see yourself in all of the theory. I began to theorize the heck out of Karen. I was like, oh, I have this. Oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. But it was a lovely objective mirror to really learn about myself objectively, because we live with ourselves. So everything is such a subjective experience. One of the most incredible trainings that I got in psychotherapy was under Dr. Sue Alwyn. She was just epic. She gave us this training where we had to go to a cafe and we had to pick somebody and look at them and write about them objectively, like a guard, like a police officer. And then we had to look at them again and write about them subjectively. So that really showed me how we have a world inside of ourselves. And if we don't know how to hold and contain that inner world, it leaks and projects out into the world. And we begin to blame and we begin to project and we begin to think, you're the reason why I'm angry. So it was a wonderful wisdom and training into recognizing that I can never fully know the other, because I am a subjective human being walking around having a subjective experience, and everything is going to speak into me and awaken whatever in me. So my job is to sit with the presence of the inner emergence. And we're all trained to exit the body. If you really look at it, we all run from the body. We don't want to know the agitations of the body or the discomforts of the body. But I have learned that's where the wisdom is. In here, the way out is the way in. In here is where you will find the solution to everything, with the medicine for it all. Yeah. So now I don't run from that. And I sit with that and I get fascinated by Karen. She's a never ending fucking story. I could be sitting with anybody and I'm like, oh, look at that coming up on me here. But I just don't take it seriously. I'm aware. Like I can still, even though I'm skilled, I can still judge. I can still have
You're a human being, of course.
Yeah, get sucked into it and have an opinion about somebody. I still have that. But I laugh at that as well. Okay, that's part of being me. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now, as a psychotherapist, obviously working with mental health, have you seen a notable shift in mental health and bringing it to the forefront or getting more exposure for the issues of mental health since you first started to where you are now in your career?
I think the shame is dissolving in people, which is allowing people to truly talk about it. When you think of the role of, and this is not against anything, but when you think of the role of institutions, so the psychiatric institution, mental health was diagnosed and people were prescribed and people were, we'll say, held away from society. Nowadays, we have people, I feel, who are starting to begin to take back control of themselves and are starting to learn to truly talk. And we spoke about this, the power of conversation, who are beginning to truly allow their stories of themselves to be here in the open. I also feel at a higher conscious level, and we were just speaking about this before we recorded, I believe that the unconscious of humanity is getting a wonderful shake-up. So our shadow, our collective shadow is rising, and that in truth, that has to happen for us all to get to a place where we are, after doing the inner development work. In order to be really healed, Brad, I believe the heart energy of us all needs to be cleaned and healed as well. And the more people truly move in to do the inner work and really begin to become more focused on what's going on in here, instead of the need to seek for, we'll say, satisfaction from the material world, from status quo energy, the more we take accountability and responsibility in here. If we don't go in here, your unconscious energy will be running the show. So at the moment, we have this, I see an up-leveling in consciousness, and humanity has to catch up with that. And so the consciousness is the vibration is getting very evolved and very advanced. But people have to catch up with that. So now all the disruption is coming up. So I see it as a massive clearing for humanity. But you're right. People are at the place we're at. A lot of people are struggling with their mental health because you know what we're not given when we come in here? We are not given school on how to self-love. We are not being told how to have the most sacred relationship on the planet is the relationship with self. Your relationship with you is the most important relationship. We're not given that.
And the longest standing relationship we will ever have.
Exactly. And that's what my research was in. I researched self-love as a spiritual practice. So I designed a 21-day spiritual practice around self-love for people. And the research was self-love as a spiritual practice that took people into the Sacred Heart for the divine to come in. Now, when my participants did do this, and the thematical analysis, so after transcribing all these interviews for hours, I then looked for the themes emerging out of it. What I couldn't get over was when people allow themselves to really, firstly, their notion of self-love was completely transformed. They believe self-love is, you go and have a facial, you go and have a massage, you be friends with yourself. They didn't realize self-love was actually a deeper relationship with self. It was forgiveness of self because you're not where you want to be. It was acceptance of your emotions. It was being in service to others. So when they did the style of 21 days with the awareness, because I would say pull in a chair for the divine in your life every day. When you're in the car, notice the divine. If you contemplate long enough on animals, you will see the story of God in everything, in trees, in nature. The story of God is everywhere. And so they began to really retrain themselves in seeing the mystery in everything and with themselves. And what really happened for them is the emergent theme in all of this was, I now see myself through the eyes of God. I see myself in a way I've never seen myself. I now feel so loved in a way that I've never felt before. So that God-shaped hole that we are born with, because we've been separated from ourselves, is what we know of, gets filled. And it's so obvious. It's so simple, but it's not so obvious. All we have to do is really start to who the fuck we are, genuinely. And it really all falls into place. So the reason why, to go back to that, the reason why humanity suffers so much is because people don't know how to be with the discomfort and the agitations of who they are. They don't know how to be a mate to their own soul. We're not given that in school. Wisdom 101. We're not told this. But I feel we will begin to really move towards that for humanity's sake. It has to happen.
It has to, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Now, we've talked spirituality a bit here already. As mentioned at the top of the interview, you're also a spiritual advisor. What was the pivotal or catalyst moment that led you down the spiritual path and to become a spiritual advisor? And how has your journey evolved since then?
I had a profound encounter, and I probably had a few when I was really young, where I just had a knowing. And this is the magic of seeing through the eyes of innocence. I was about 7, and Brad, I really believed I could control the world. I would say to the wind, stop moving, and the trees would get still. Right? So I was like, I have powers. I'm a superhero. I would climb these tall walls, and I had no fear of my own humanity. I wasn't afraid of my own self. I had such a faith and a trust of my capacity. I didn't have that self-reflection of, what's wrong with me? I'm different from everyone else. There was no indifference. I didn't see anybody as different. I was so happy making little daisy chains and thinking of a man up in the sky in a castle looking down at us all. But my real profoundness, and I edged God out of me massively through my self-hate. But when I was almost 40, I'm 46 now, so 6 years ago, a relationship of 14 years had ended abruptly, and I was devastated by it because I didn't want it to end. And I remember sitting there, and he broke up with me on our first day of our holiday away together in this adult-only resort. And I had a book. A friend gave me a book, and it was called More Truth Will Set You Free. And the book had already began to play out in my life. The title, More Truth. I started to uncover things that I wasn't aware of were truths. So the book was activated in my reality. So anyway, my partner of that time had his hand on the book and looked at me and said, I can't do this. I can't be in this relationship. And I'm sitting there in a bikini feeling very fucking exposed. It's day one of our holiday. And I'm like, you fucking jackass. You throw this at me. Day one of our... Yeah. But yeah, I knew he was speaking his truth. So I just asked him to leave, and I sat there and watching all the other couples adoring each other, loving each other. And this shift happened, and I began to recognize I've only ever known love based on being inside of a relationship. I only knew love through the other giving it to me. My whole life was dependent on that. So I was a people pleaser. So if I looked after you, I knew you liked me, I would feel great. So I became aware that I never knew love of Karen in an honest way. I never knew unconditional love of Karen. So I looked at the book and I looked up at God and I said, where are you? Where's that love that I knew when I was 7? When I felt so held in this world. I was so unafraid of me or of this world. Where are you? And my phone went off and it was my son, because I texted him to say my partner just ended it. He was 19. And my son's message was, life has been hard on you lately. Maybe now it's time to let God in. And here I am calling for God, right? So then I say to the book, okay, more truth will set you free. Give me something that I can't deny, that I can't argue with. If I open this book on a certain page, give me a message that I can't argue with. I said, okay, God, just give it to me. And I fucking opened the book on page 115. And the paragraph, and this is, when you hear those things, you couldn't fucking write it if you tried. This was one of those divine moments. The paragraph said, sometimes we turn to God when our foundations had been shaken, only to recognize it was He who shook them. God is a very powerful guy. He hid himself in the one place he knew you'd never look, deep inside your heart. I went home on that plane 4 days later, best friends with my now ex after that happened. Totally worked through all of that with him. And I went into celibacy. I made a conscious decision to remove all distraction from my life and truly get to know the sacredness of Karen. I ended up being led by the spirit of myself. So I would find myself booking into a monastery for 3 nights, doing water fast, wearing a silence badge. I would drive all around Ireland. I would end up on sacred sites. I would begin to connect to the trees again, the landscape. I allowed myself to be led by the very thing within me that I had been running from my whole life because I was distracting it with others. And that brought into my experience magical encounters that I couldn't even explain to you. And one of them was on the sunrise, starlings. You know the way starlings come out and do their incredible... One morning I have a Yorkshire Terrier. So Yorkshires love to chase birds. They fucking love it. One morning I was pulled. It was like the depth out there was pulling on the depth in here. I've always experienced that. And I went down on the beach and hundreds, probably thousands of starlings began to do their dance. But they began to move all around me in a circular motion. So they were only at arm's length, which is so peculiar for birds to even come that close to you.
Yeah.
My dog didn't even move. She sat there. And I felt I was being divinely blessed, like something in me was being noticed by the sacredness of these animals. The spirit of them was communicating into the spirit of me, the God energy. There was a union, a conversion between the God and me, the God spark and the God spark outside of me. And I realized in that moment that the divine was really wanting me to pay attention to what is truly on this planet beyond the 3D reality that we know. And that's what made me fall into do my master's in spirituality. I said, where can I saturate my consciousness so deeply into this that it will absolutely
embody it.
Yeah. That's what brought me into it. Yeah. That's what I bring into the work now. Yeah.
So you've married the two, the psychotherapy and the spiritual work together to help your clients.
Yeah, I do, because a lot of pain and suffering, if I was to say what is the most pain in the room, is the room of feeling I'm unlovable. So when I bring in the awareness of the sacred is in here with you and always has been, and I say to them, tell me your autobiography now, but tell me your spiritual autobiography. Let me hear your wisdom of knowing the divine with you always in your life. There is a transformation that takes place in the woundedness. And it's just, it's very beautiful to hold that space with people. Yeah.
Magical. What are some practical spiritual practices that you recommend for individuals seeking inner peace and personal growth?
Probably there's no one practice that I do. You know what I would say, if I'm being honest? Go and be your own deity. have an altar for yourself. Sit on a stool every evening with a little picture of you and honor you and light a candle and say a prayer to the blessing of what you are, because you are a fucking epic, unknowing blessing to humanity and to yourself. And why else are we here? So I would say, if you want a wonderful spiritual practice, go create an altar and put yourself on that altar and become your own deity. Truly. Yeah. Put your own forehead to your own feet. Yeah.
What are some of your daily spiritual practices that keep you centered and connected?
You heard one. I have a big shrine of Karen. I'm only got some. One of them. Shrine. My favorite one, because the nature of my spirituality. So I'm heartfulness, and I'm very much about the ecological conversation with God. I have to sit. I live by the beach. I have to every day. I get up when the sun is coming up. We hold every Sunday free sunrise meditations on the beach for people. Me and my husband. I get up when the sun is coming up. I witness. For me, that is wonderment. It never gets old. It never gets boring. Every morning is so fucking different to the one before. The encounter in it is so sacred. So for me, because I sit and I hold that wisdom of the cosmology, what's in my body, the irons, the minerals that are in me are also up there, and the cosmos is in the planets, is in the sun. I am not separate from it. I'm just a different form in a different shape. But I am also the Milky Way. I am also all of it, and it is also all of me. And I am just an aspect, a little fragmentation of the divine mystery experience in itself, in me and through me, and that it can never know itself fully. So I welcome that. I would say to people, what you feed your mind will shape your life. So go feed your mind with stuff that will just enrich your way of seeing into the world. Change your lens. Change the lens in which you look out from. Go read something that will invoke you. And I love that quote, for art to appear, you have to disappear. I love that. Stephen Nashvashki or something said it. And I love that. And I believe in that. For God, the mystery to appear, I have to disappear. And that's my spiritual practice, is how can I make that more and more in my daily life? So for me, nature is my spiritual practice. I do my meditations. I do my mantras. I like them. They're anchoring. They're grounding. I like to feel connected to Karen before I get up and go about my day. So I need both connection to the mystery and connection to Karen.
Love it. How do you support individuals who may be going through a spiritual awakening or a spiritual crisis?
I give them a big fucking hug and say, you're fucked. That's what I do in the room. No, it's so unique for everyone, because the death of the old self is so painful. And you know what I do, Brad? I love the magic wonderment of story. I tell the same parable to everyone. I was saying, if there was a gathering of all my clients, they'd be like, she told you that? She told me that too. But I tell it because the story is so, when people hear it, they get that. It's like a Tibetan bowl, the gong has been hitting them. They get this. And the story, the ending of the story is very profound, because it's a remembrance that each one of us are so unique. I feel like I should share the story next.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So the story is this, and I heard it years ago, and it's an old parable from India. So the story is, an Indian merchant had to go out to Africa to get some goods to bring back to India. And while he was out there, he was absolutely blown away by the colourful talking parrots in the jungle. So he captured one. He brought it home, loved on it for the year, put it in a massive cage, played music to it, read poetry, sang to it, fed it beautifully. A year passed, and the merchant said to the parrot, I have to go back to Africa. Would you like me to give a message to your friends and family? And the parrot said, yes. Tell them that I'm quite happy in my cage. It's comfortable. I'm well fed, and I'm looked after. The merchant went into the jungle, and he delivered the message. Upon hearing the message, another parrot welled up, fell over, and died. The merchant was touched by that. He said, maybe it was a friend with my parrot. When he returned home, his parrot said, "Did you give my message?" And the merchant said, "I did." And he shared what happened. Upon hearing it, his own parrot filled up with tears, fell over and died. The merchant was devastated, felt they must have really known each other. So he put his hands in to pick up the parrot and he went to throw it out the window into the rubbish bin. But it flew up onto a tree. And the merchant was like, "Why did you do that to me? Why would you pretend that you were dead?" And the parrot said, "Because my friend back in Africa gave me the most important message." The merchant was like, "What was the message?" "My friend said, in order to escape your cage, you have to die while you're still alive."
Wow. That is profound as shit. Incredible.
We all have to die. We have to die to that conditioned self, that version of a self that was shaped and molded into us, which is no one's fault. It's ancestral energy. It's epigenetic. It's family constellation. You've showed up into an environment that pre-existed before you. And when you come into physical form, you take on all of the energy of that, the programs we call it. And none of that is touching off of the truth of who you are, because again, your parents weren't giving the training in how to create an educational environment from which the child could fall in love with the self and stay deeply connected to the self. Mm-hmm. This is, again, it's missing everywhere.
Yeah.
So we all have to die while we're still alive to escape the cage. We all have to. So where you are on your path with that is going to be very unique and different based on the spirit of you, the nature of your spirit, and what your philosophy is and what your psychology is and your personality, all of it. So I couldn't answer it in a linear way. I had to give you a story to capture.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
It.
Fucking wow. That is powerful. Now, as mentioned off the top, you are a 3-time international bestselling author.
Sure.
I want to speak a little bit about your journey into becoming an author and the books you participated in or wrote. First of all, was writing something that was always part of who you were? And when did you start writing? And secondly, can you tell us about the books that you've participated in, titles, subject matter, all of this stuff?
Yeah, sure. I haven't had any luck with my writings. In 2015, I wrote my very first memoir called Come Home to Yourself. And I sat for a whole 2 years, every Friday, like it was a ritual. Actually, I engaged in a ritual for 2 years. I sat in a bookshop. I'm very particular in the environment. I need environments inspire me, so I will know where to sit in order to be turned on. And I went into a bookshop, and for 2 years here in where I live, I poured my first memoir out. When I released that memoir in 2015, I was being bullied at the time in work, which is fine. Again, another wonderful experience for more wisdom. But the bullies anyway rang social workers to bring up my whole childhood story from 25 years ago, saying this girl brought out a book and it was her father. So all of a sudden there's this massive chaos in my life. And it was just, again, another opportunity for my mother and father to go back in and meet that story again, and for all of us to hold space for the sacredness of it, which we did, and we were fine in it. And that was the catalyst that caused my partner to want to escape from me. I didn't want this exposure or to expose it. So the book flopped. I took it down off of Amazon. It was self-published, so I put the book away over here. And then I fell into this whole pay-to-play, which is out there. And I was naive, and I believed in the contract of it. And I believed in the idea, and the idea is beautiful. The idea was about a space for women to come together and write their book. And I did. And I wrote for the Women Gone Wild, the Wealth Edition. So I wrote about spiritual wealth around, because I didn't have financial abundance. It wasn't about that for me. I knew that's not it. I knew for me, true wealth is when you know who you are, because I had experienced wealth leave my life, my home gone, the car is gone, and my identity attached to that wealth also went. So now that I have a real connection with self, it doesn't matter. I could be on the streets anywhere and I'm already home. This is my home. Karen is my home. I don't need Anne. She's already enough. And I know this wholeheartedly. So I wrote from that place. And then that led me to write in a friend's book that wasn't a pay to play. It was beautiful. Resilience AF is the name of the book. And I wrote in it, and I wrote my resilience from spiritual resilience, how when you have genuine, you really know the divine in your life, you feel very bloody empowered. And that was beautiful. And I've just recently done another book that should have been a pay to play, but I had said no to the energy of pay to play. And it was joy. And I wrote a chapter on finding my joy. When you find you find your joy. And then last year, in 11 days in Coraleco, the place where my partner had broke up and where God came in, I go back there every year. In 11 days, I downloaded and wrote the 7 pathways to self-love. It just poured out of me. And I came home and I got a contract with an Irish publisher, and I was delighted. And he had a great vision. He had a great marketing strategy. I was the first genre. He usually did blockbuster memoirs. So my self-help book was the first genre under his new publishing house. However, at the same time, my friend had introduced him to another beautiful woman who had a fabulous memoir story. Oh my God, incredible. So he got lost in that. He became her ghostwriter and he wrote her book. He put hers out. A week later, he put mine out. And of course, he presented us both to the same media platforms. And of course, hers was out first and the media went with hers. And then there wasn't much media left for mine. Yeah. So that book didn't get the holding it deserved. However, after the time out and going into my inner cavern, I now know what I will do is, because I don't do the writing, something in me writes. And it's very poetic for me to encounter it. But my new book, which is my old 2 books, I am going to uproot my autobiography, but I'm going to write it as a spiritual autobiography from the place of me, you, the reader, and a chair for God in the room, as my spiritual autobiography. I will then have a middle section, which is the whole talk around forgiveness with my dad. And at the very end, I'm going to bring in the 7 pathways to self-love, which is the work that you can do to really, because there's exercises. The book, I'm going to call it The Hand of God, because I really truly feel that was the biggest encountering of experiencing the divine move through me and into my life that transformed the path I went down. So I want to write that because I want to, a lot of people, which is okay, I've had it myself. I didn't like the word God for a long time because it brought up a lot of, I'm from Ireland, Catholic, it brought up all of course, the shame, the energy of spiritual abuse. But now I love the energy of God, and I feel that we all need to really make room for the divine in our life. Otherwise, we'll continue to feel very disconnected from source. So I'm going to go, I'm just about to submit my research conclusion and findings, and then I'm free. And I'm going to go then and give birth to the whole formulation of this book that I described. So I would probably always write, Brad. I find that writing for me is like a scuba diver. I go deeper into the mystery of my own conscious energy. And I'm discovering more about Karen's soul landscape. So I love the exploration work. I love it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
The ability to absolutely love you in a way that you can't do it for yourself. I really hold up that mirror. I hold it, and people, they end up being able to unveil to me the deepest parts of themselves that have been their shamed energy that they did not know how to ever bring out. And all of a sudden they are unshackled from that, and they're free from that, and they're liberated. And that's what I bring into the room. I bring my fucking honesty. Listen, I talk like this with my clients. The curses come in. I treat you with the utmost love and respect, but I am going to give you a real fucking relationship. I have all my credentials. There's my professionalism, but I don't wear that. Oh, I'm a professional. I'm like, no, the relationship with me is going to be the most real that we can ever encounter. So you can have this in your life full time. Yeah.
Love it. Speaking of success, how do you define that word? What does success mean to you?
Success is deep internal relationship and love of the self. It is not about what you're doing. I'm only interested in what you're doing out there if it's coming from a place of truly being in service. That's all.
And that's a huge part of why we're all here, is to be in and of service to one another. That's it.
Yeah. I don't need to see photographs of your fucking car and what you're doing on TikTok. If you stop and you buy somebody sitting on the street a genuine hot cup of coffee, or you give them a sandwich, if you can give to somebody who feels so unloved, then I'm all in for that. I'll be your best friend.
What is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before you learned it? And what was your life like after you learned it?
The biggest lesson is the one I had named earlier, which is life is not here to hurt me. It is here. It is my greatest teacher, and it is here to bring me into the truth of myself. Before the wisdom of that, I was victim consciousness. I was in the story. Why me? Why is life doing this to me? Why has God forsaken me? Now, that's a very painful affliction to carry. Wow. I truly felt that everything had turned its back on me. Now, when I know that, I'm like, do you know what? I've gone from why me to bring it on, bring it fucking on. Show me what I need to heal from. What am I not getting? Bring it on.
I'm ready.
I play now with life. I'm not afraid of it. I truly play with it. And I teach that. It's transferable. I teach that with my own children, and my daughter who's nearly 19 and my son who's 26. I get them to really see this. This is part of, it's integrated into our way of living. It's part of, they come in and they're in the drama, especially my wonderful 18-year-old. She's all, and she comes in and she knows by me. She just goes, oh, okay. No, I say, stay with your feelings. They're important. Just tell me. Now I say, now that it's out here, what can you learn from this? And
you're right, Mom. What does the word empowerment mean to you?
Self-permission to truly be able, let's say in the morning, you're on the beach and I'm like, you're like, Karen, I'd love to just get on that surfboard right now, clothes on me and go surf. And I'm like, go do it. And there's no hesitation. There's no shame kicking in. There's no looking to see who's looking. There's no, oh, sure, what would people think of me? That's empowerment to me. When you are so comfortable in your form and as of who you are, that's true empowerment. I'm not fully there, but I'm learning all the time to learn that's empowerment.
Love it. Yeah. Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section here. So next grouping of questions, just be 1, 2, 3 word answer type thing, okay?
Okay.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Real.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
Self-love.
If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Fucking hilarious.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
My humor. Yeah.
What's one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
One thing I want but I cannot buy with money? Jesus, I never even considered that one.
There you go.
One thing that I would love.
Making you think.
Now I'm thinking about money in my head. I'm like, what would money be able to buy me? One thing I could buy but not with money. Is that what you said? Health.
One thing you want. There you go.
More health. Yeah.
If you had a song that played every single time you walked into a room, what song would that be?
You're simply the best.
Peanut. Yeah, there we go. And that concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I have a bonus question that I threw in that I did not send you ahead of time. If other people could use 3 words to describe you, what would you want those 3 words to be?
Profound, loving, and generous.
Beautiful. What challenge in your life would you say has shaped you the most?
My dad.
That's a fucking huge one, that's for sure. I've heard the story before, but holy fuck. It's it's so powerful and profound.
Thank you, Brad. And it's nice for it to always be held with that, because gosh, I've been held in the other space with it, but no, thank you. Yeah, it is profound. It is a big piece of work.
What is an unexpected blessing or occurrence in your life that you're grateful for?
What is an unexpected blessing? Yeah. Do you know, and I'm being honest when I say this, Jeff, my husband, I fell in love with him in 2015, but he was with somebody and I never thought we would ever be together. He is so magical. His energy is such a blessing in my life. He's so magical.
Love it. If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
You did a good job.
Thank you. I received that.
What question would I ask myself that you didn't ask me? I honestly cannot think of one.
Okay. I'll take that as a compliment.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Nothing there.
All right. What is your why, Karen?
Oh my God. I have been so pained by my why. My why has always been, what am I here for? And now I'm starting to see the picture of that. I'm starting to really taste Karen more as a result of it too.
That's powerful and beautiful. What is something surprising that you've learned about yourself in the last year?
Yeah, that I have a natural way, a shamanic way about me that I never realized. That's really starting to show itself more and more in the work with people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
Honestly, Teresa came to me. I would love to know what made her keep going, what made her do what she did, what gave her the heart, what was her faith, her faith. I would love to know about her faith. Yeah. That devotion and faith is powerful. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
I would look her in the eyes and I would say, Karen Whelan, you actually are the most profound warrior and you just don't know that about yourself. And everything is happening to you is actually not happening to you. It is the biggest gift. It's happening for you to show you the sacredness of your power and your light. Go fucking be you, darling.
Beautiful. Lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your people, your corner of the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
I would tell them the story about the cage. I would tell them, in order to escape your cage, you have to die while you're still alive. Go out there and take life by your own hands. Take the control back. Go live your life. Go be you. No excuses, unapologetically. Just go and live and say yes to what you want to say yes to. That's it. Just do it.
Beautiful. Karen, thank you so much. This has been such a beautiful, inspirational, insightful, amazing conversation, as I knew it was going to be. It was well worth the wait. So thank you very much for taking and making the time to be here with me today, for sharing a bit about your story, your journey, and the beautiful light you put out into the world. So the work you do, I appreciate you. It has been such an honor and a pleasure. I am blessed and honored to call you a friend and to have you as a member of the Empowerography community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And to everyone who gets to hear this, I send you huge love and huge light. Blessings.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Karen Whelan. She's the founder and owner of Solution Therapy, a spiritual advisor, a psychotherapist, and a 3-time international best-selling author. Thank you so much, Karen. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca, follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast, and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.